I mean, whatever about his personal circumstances and family and all that kind of stuff, which is crucial to any decision, I would put it to you, Eddie, that from a rugby career, if we were to stand back almost and advise Joe Schmidt, assuming the World Cup goes well, he's probably approaching the point now where it does make rugby sense for him to look for a new challenge.
Absolutely, and look, it's the way the World Cup will play out. There's two ways the World Cup can play out, good or bad. And if it's good, as we expect it to be, worst case scenario, we break the glass ceiling, get to a semi-final. Maybe we win a semi-final and get to the final, and when you're in the final, that can happen. But it's a good World Cup. I'll say it's kind of a natural stepping off point for him because he's pretty much delivered on everything since he came in. 3 championships, including a Grand Slam, a victory in the Southern Hemisphere on a summer tour, 2 victories over the All Blacks. So he's ticked all the boxes, and that's the last one. So if it goes well, it's a natural stepping off point. If for some strange reason it didn't go well, the notion of coming back for another 4 years and getting under the hood and trying to restructure everything again further on 2023, like, you need a pretty strong stomach for that, So I think that it all made sense that he'd step away. I mean, I've been saying this for probably a month or two now, that it just was the right time for him. And I think, though, to be fair to the RFU and Joe, they had to manage it. Like, this was in the air for a while. I think they did the right thing by keeping a lid on it until this morning, get through the autumn internationals, and then let the bomb go off this morning. We've 2 months now to let it wash out before we get into Six Nations and get it out of our heads. And then our other smart move was, announcing his replacement, Andy Farrell, because, like, the speculation would start as well if we didn't know his replacement. So I think the RFU and Joe Schmidt have managed it really smart in the right way at the right time. And it's going to generate a lot of talk for a while, but come the spring, we'll be just focused on the Six Nations and the World Cup. So I think they've played it out really well.
Yeah. Well handled from your point of view, Matty?
Oh, absolutely. Eddie knows as well as I. You look at Joe's career and what he's won is staggering, but he's gone from Claremont to Leinster to Ireland without having a day off, for want of a better term, and it's exceptionally stressful, even when you're winning. You're away from home a huge amount. I was working out when I was a national coach, you were 6 months out of the 12 you weren't in your own house. Now, you might still be in the country, you might not be touring, but you're not in your own home. And that's okay, but year after year after year, it gets tiring, it gets weird. I thought Joe is looking really tired at the moment. Imagine how it was if he wasn't winning. He needs a break, and I think that's the right thing to do. But I do think it's been handled well. I think question mark I've got, of course, is Andy Farrell's a lovely guy, a great D coach, but as Les Kiss will testify, a very similar profile to Andy. Les is a great guy, champion fella. I'm not talking them down, but when you haven't been the head coach of anything in rugby, you're both rugby league guys, you haven't been a head coach of any rugby at provincial level, and then going straight in as national coach, I think it's a very, very tough gig for Andy Farrell.
Yeah. How big a con is that for you, Eddie, regarding Farrell's appointment?
Yeah, it is. Look, it's a factor. Matt's right. It's a very different world when you're an assistant coach. When you're a head coach, you do get up on the high wire and there's no safety net. And the stuff that you deal on day to day, like I would describe it as, if you're an assistant coach, you're juggling 3 balls. If you're a head coach, you're juggling 10 balls. And that's a massive step up. Now, he's been around the camp for long enough to see how Joe Schmidt operates it, but he has to have his own stamp as well. He can't just replicate Joe Schmidt's way of doing things. He has to be his own way. Every coach wants to put his own stamp on how a team plays, how a team prepares. So he'll have seen it in operation, but there's nothing like being there and everything comes back to you. I mean, everything comes back to you. Every small detail is your responsibility. So that'll be a big test of him. But look, they must feel he's ready for it. I mean, there are a few, I've talked to him, the players have been around him. So obviously the feedback is that he's ready for this. But it's a pretty big gig to get first up as a head coach. But look, it's a year away or more, because the Six Nations won't start till till 2020. But yeah, it is. Matt's right. It's a big change up for any coach to go from assistant to head coach. There's no doubt about that.
We're just in wait and see territory, really, Matt. I mean, everything you hear about Andy Farrell is very positive. He's arguably one of the best, if not the best, defensive coaches in the world. He's a phenomenal record against the All Blacks. All the players sing his praises. It's just how do you handle that extra stuff? And we won't really know. He may not fully know until it happens. But clearly, Joe Schmidt and several others around him have spotted enough to give them confidence.
Well, Andy was a phenomenal rugby league player. I'm not using that term lightly. He was a phenomenal rugby league player, well known and respected in Australia. But it's exceptionally difficult in another sport to make that progression. And obviously, I've met him. He's a great guy, highly knowledgeable. Has done a great job as an assistant. But it's, as Eddie says, it's a different animal what you're dealing with, and you're dealing with it on the international stage, which is the hybrid of them all. So it's going to be a big challenge for him. And look, as Eddie rightly points out, people know him. The players sing his praises. There's no doubt he's excellent at what he does. But organising a defence is exceptionally different to organising, running staff, having all the people, relationship with the players, selectors, the media. You walk out at the Six Nations Day, on Media Day, as Eddie knows, there's not 10 media, there's not 20 media, there's 300 media. It's huge. It's a scale that's beyond what people imagine. And so I'm not suggesting it's beyond him. I'm suggesting that it's a brave step.
And for those reasons, is it easier to transition from, I guess, being an assistant type coach or a defensive coach into head coach role at provincial level, the way Schmidt did it from Claremont to Leinster, than it is to go to international level?
Look, we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
All of us when you coach, you look back over 10, 15, 20 years and you look at one day and you go, oh my God, I stuffed that up. And we all make our mistakes, but hopefully you learn from them. And when you've got the opportunity to do these roles at other areas, you learn and grow. You learn and grow and you move. But when you're stepping straight up into that big spotlight, as Eddie said, with no safety wise, when you make a mistake, it's writ large, and you just need that experience. And he might be fine because he's got such a great experience as a high level player. He's been around a lot of different teams. But if you look at Les Kiss's experience, it just didn't work for Les, and that's really sad for him because he's a great guy. He's given a lot of time to the game, and you just hope, for Andy's sake, that works out well. Yeah,
and for everyone's really. I mean, it'd be a miserable time if it didn't. It was curious, Eddie. I don't know if you saw the wording of the Joe Schmidt press release just before 9 a.m. this morning, and one of the lines he had was, "I've decided to finish coaching, and I'll prioritise my family commitments after the Rugby World Cup in 2019. It was a curious wording for sure that he didn't just say, I'll finish coaching Ireland. He said, I'll finish coaching and will prioritise family commitments after the Rugby World Cup in 2019. So it could be just, as I said, a curious wording, slight mistake. It was interesting, the New Zealand Herald have turned it into like front page story over there, and Schmidt, All Blacks blow, he's retiring from coaching, full stop. I didn't quite read it that way. I mean, you certainly got the sense his hand could be twisted. He's talking about family commitments after the World Cup 2019. He's not talking about the next, 10, 20 years of his life.
No, I don't. Look, again, he's got to manage this because if he said he's going to look in other places for other opportunities, then, the rumour mill will start. Yeah. And that's the last he needs now, a year out of a World Cup, to have all sorts of stuff floating around that he's going back to Claremont or he's going to the All Blacks, So he's taking a break. No, I don't think he's been disingenuous. I think he probably is. As Matt said, it's a tough gig. There's non-stop. You play 10 games a year, and people think you work for 10 weeks. And you spend the other 40 getting ready for the 10 games. And he works very hard. He's a very detailed guy. Like a lot of us, he's got the coaching bug, and you don't walk away from that. Like it's part of your DNA. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back to New Zealand. He takes a year out or something, or 2 years out, and then reassess where he is, and then come back into the game. But I think it's probably, if he's going, I expect he'll take a break, and it's smart for him to coach it that way so that there's no speculation of doing something else after Ireland, which just muddies the water when he's with Ireland. So again, to be fair, I think the way they're playing this out in terms of him transitioning a year out from the Irish coaching job, a way out of it, is the way to do it. And I wouldn't be surprised if he takes some sort of a break, but I would be surprised if he's finished with rugby. In fact, I'd be amazed.
Yeah, he's only 53 years of age. And I know this question's been swirling around, and we've touched on it with you already, Eddie, when we've been talking about his potential for leaving. I might put it to Maddie to see if he agrees, and it's about whether or not you suffer from lame duck manager syndrome, in that you lose just even a percentage point or two of your authority, because certain players know, well, you'll be gone in 6 months, mate. Most people feel Schmidt, of all people, given the stakes that is the World Cup as well, and just how brilliantly regarded he is, that's not going to be an issue for him. The players are completely invested in everything he says.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, Joe, is that to me?
It is, yeah. Eddie certainly doesn't think that will be an issue, I know, from speaking to him recently.
I'm with Eddie, yeah. No, look, he's such a great coach. And look, these guys want to win a World Cup. And the World Cup tends to be an end point for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You'll probably, I don't know this in any way, but will Rory Best go on? Where does Rob Kearney go? Where do these guys? The World Cup tends to be that end point for a lot of people. But when you're at a World Cup, people give their all to that. They might know that people are moving on or retiring or got other gigs. That doesn't matter. That's their World Cup, and very few guys get two. Most guys only go to one World Cup, and they give everything they can. They believe in Joe. He's got an incredible record. They're going to that World Cup to win, and they would see that as a full stop. And then you build again for the next World Cup in the next 4 years. So I don't think it will have any effect on that team whatsoever. I think they'll go completely committed, and if anything, because they have such respect for him, they'll be putting in to send him out as on a higher point as possible.
Yeah, we should talk about action on the field. I guess Heineken Star comments are starting to come in. You can get your questions in Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, various places, and you're in the hat to win some Heineken and off the ball goodies. David O'Leary on Facebook just says, I presume it's not the David O'Leary, but thanks, it's good to have you with you anyway, David. The ultimate year for Irish rugby, hopefully it carries on through to next year. Best of luck to Joe. Irish rugby is so much better off for his magic touch, and that is worth just stating, Eddie, even though we've done it about 1 billion times already. The impact this guy has had on Irish coaching extends, I think, throughout the whole country.
Yeah, I mean, the national team is a good barometer for rugby, and when the national team goes well, it lifts everybody. There's more people watching the game. There's more kids want to play the game. So that alone, it's a great, I suppose, selling point for the game. And if you look at the last few years in Irish rugby, it's been stellar in terms of delivering trophies and winning. Like people are drawn to the game of rugby now because Ireland expect to win and expect to win now with the All Blacks. Well, who would have thought? But I mean, when you think of it, like I think back to the days when the game was just turning professional, and there was all sorts of possibilities. Would Irish clubs go into the European Cup? Would Irish clubs go professional? And there was a few, very wise old heads, former Lions, former Irish players like Sid Miller, Tommy Kiernan, Ronnie Dawson, and et al. There was quite a few around the table, and they came up with the blueprint for Irish rugby, which was the 4 provinces, 4 professional teams, centrally contracted, kind of totally against the grain of what's happening in Europe. Now, even then, I think, in their wildest dreams, their fear was that rugby would leave Ireland behind. It's 4th-choice sport in a country of 4 or 5 million people. Even in their wildest dreams, I don't think they could have seen this, that Ireland would now be planted at number 2 in the world, having beaten the All Blacks twice, 3 championships, 4 championships since 2009, 2 Grand Slams included. Like, it couldn't get any better. And to be fair as well, the Irish few who get their criticism have kept the show on the road. They have developed a system here that serves Irish rugby very well. The whole school system is outstanding, particularly in Leinster, the academy system, and we are maximising our potential. And then you need somebody at the top like Joe Schmidt, who is able to see the big picture, comes in and pulls it all together, and this is where you get the success from. So to his credit, that's what he has done. He has maximised the potential and worked to build on all the work that's gone before, and it's taken it to the next level. Like it's been a 20 years project really for the RFU, but we are now where we've always wanted to be, and not by accident. So he's had a huge part in that in recent years. From the time he was with Leinster and then took over Ireland, it's been an upward trajectory the whole way. So yeah, he's had a massive impact on the game in Ireland. Like, there's no way he'll ever be forgotten. I think if he is a big World Cup, he will go into the annals like Jack Charlton has in soccer. I think that would be where the territory he's in at the moment.
Yeah, I think he'll go with everybody's best wishes regardless at this stage.